Summer's going to be here before we know it, right? I know a lot of you are still wrapping up your, spring programs, your weed and feeds, all your pre-emergence, et cetera, should already have been down, at least up here in Michigan, I would hope. Starting to see some dandelions, things like that. So wanted to see, kind of talk about some of the important tips about summer fertilization. If you should do it, why you shouldn't do it, why you should maybe, take steps to make it a little bit easier for you and to make it overall healthier for your lawn during some of the stressful months of, high temperatures and things like drought and disease, things like that. So with that being said, I wanted to kind of go over a couple different options that may work for you. With this Yard Mastery Stress Blend, this is an 18-pound bag as shown, but there is a 45-pound bag that does cover 15,000 square feet. Now with this, it's well balanced, right? So a lot of the products from Yard Mastery are well balanced, which is something that I like. They have a lot of different things in it that can help overall, achieve the results you're looking for. So to start, we have the 7-0-20 rating, 20% potassium, which is a really solid amount of potassium, and that's going to help prevent some of those diseases and help also recover from some of those high stressful periods. So if you have some temperatures in the 90s for a couple weeks at a time, sometimes it can be hard to keep up with the watering. And so the potassium will help with overall plant strength, and it will help support that recovery from things like disease. And if you notice certain browning or yellowing spots on your lawn, you may see some signs of either that or insect damage, just heat stress in general, or drought. So if you have a lot of days where it's just there's no rain and you can't keep up with watering, things like that. So with this, you have a well-balanced program here. You got your macros, you got your micros, as you can see here below. And what's really nice is that you have a strong dose of sulfur, which is going to help absorb those nutrients in your soil and really make the best use out of them. Okay, so then you have the iron, the 3% iron. And what that's going to do is it's going to help you retain that color, that deep green color, and also prevent any kind of discoloration, or just kind of restore some of that coloring that you had maybe had, earlier in the spring when you had a lot of rain and, during peak growing season. So there's that. And then you have some biosolids. Okay, so essentially that human waste that we had talked about in the previous video with the malorganite, that's going to be in here as well. So it's going to really, add those or feed those microbes that are already existing in the soil here. So that's something else that's going to be super beneficial to overall soil structure and plant health and overall lawn health in general, right? So as we're looking at pricing, Amazon, this product's about the same price on Amazon for the 15,000 square foot application, the 45-pound bag, $75 Amazon, and then on the Yard Master website at $70. I'm not sure about the shipping options on that, but there could be shipping on that as well. But some sites also have free shipping over $50 or something similar to that. Anyway, so as we're moving on, the next product that some people may look at, one of the top products that's in box stores, your Home Depot, a lot of times Walmart has this, Lowe's maybe, is your Scotts Summer Guard. So what this has is, of course, you're getting your 20% nitrogen, and you're really looking for, a little bit of, you want slow release nitrogen, so this has a little bit of that. You don't want to push the nitrogen too heavy this time of year as things start to get hot, especially if you're going to be without, watering, or you have days of drought. So you're going to have your strong supply, I should say, of potassium, 8%, which is great, and your sulfur. So as far as pricing, this one's going to be a little bit pricier simply because it does have the insecticide in it. So it's going to kill a lot of those insects and also prevent, insects, and that can cause diseases and things like that in your lawns. And so it's going to be a little bit more expensive than the other products. So as far as price comparison, it's kind of hard to do a price comparison because they are different products in that sense. But I just kind of wanted to show that for you as well. Now, here's the last thing I really wanted to, stress for you guys as far as fertilization in the summertime, things you really want to consider. So what you can consider is, applying some of these products at half the rate. So spoon feeding your lawn, as they say, right? You want to do maybe instead of, every 4 weeks applying a full rate, you want to do it every 2 weeks at half a rate. So just kind of giving that lawn the right amount of nutrients over that, short period of time, so you're not really stressing it out too much and really shocking it. So what this can do also is it can help you avoid over applying and possibly burning your lawn. If you're following the directions and you're doing everything you're supposed to, you shouldn't really be burning your lawn. I know a lot of people that burn their lawns just some of them don't know what they're doing, or they just made a mistake and they applied too much or whatever. So you also want to consider previous spring applications. Like for me, example, I apply a lot of nitrogen in the spring. I had my pre-emergent. I used Scott's Halt with crabgrass preventer that had a ton of nitrogen in it, and then I did a 19-19-19 half rate as my first application of the season. So I already applied, a ton of nitrogen already to start the season. I don't want to apply any more right now. I'll probably do a lot more in the fall. Okay, so if you are considering doing some of the fertilizers, consider organic option as well, because with things like Milorganite and also some of the other organic options, they're not going to burn as well, so you can't really over apply some of those. If you don't want to do that, you can also consider some liquids. Okay, that's always a good option too, especially if you don't want to add some granular fertilizer and just let it sit on your lawn in the middle of the day, and it's probably not the best as well, especially if the sun's just baking and it's just super hot out for an extended period of time. So consider that slow release nitrogen, something that's going to add a little bit to your lawn, but not overdo it and stimulate too much growth, especially this time of year in the summertime is when growth is starting to slow down just a little bit after that busy spring flush. So again, avoid that fast release nitrogen. It's just you just don't want to add too much of that this time of year. You can in small doses, and you can if you haven't applied it too much in the springtime. So just keep that in mind throughout the whole season, what you're applying. Application times. When do you want to apply this? Obviously not in the middle of the day when it's scorching hot, but consider even early evening after the sun's starting to go down and it's not just baking in the sun. And you want to think about proper watering techniques as well for summertime fertilization and overall lawn care. What, 1 inch to 1.5 inches of watering. So that's something to take into consideration. If you're using any kind of watering agents or water retainer products like your liquid aerate or whatever the case may be, there's a whole bunch of different products out there for that can just help when it does rain, and when you do utilize your irrigation system, it's going to absorb and really utilize that water to the best of its abilities and really soak down into the root zone and soak up that water. Mower height. So another thing to consider too is you don't want to, depending on your scenario. For me, I like to keep it a little bit higher, 3.5 inches in the summertime, just so that way when you have the roots, the roots aren't as exposed to the sunlight, to that hot summer afternoon sun. So if you keep it a little bit longer, the root zones are going to stay just a little bit cooler, and it'll help out a lot. And then as far as mower maintenance, you want to keep those blades sharpened, right, to avoid adding stress to some of those blades, to some of the leaf blades, I should say. So you don't want to cut it too short. Consider the 1/3 rule, and then make sure that the blades are sharpened and your tires are maintained, proper PSI, and your mower deck is aligned and leveled correctly. So those things all add up and are super important to consider. And then also too, if you're if you're looking for signs of disease and stress, you want to examine your lawn throughout the season and make sure that, hey, I'm not going to just dump a whole bunch of fertilizer on the lawn if there are some signs of stress or some signs of some other bigger problem that needs to be addressed first. So all in all, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to kind of go over some of this with you, see if this was something that's going to be important for you to consider, as we are approaching summertime here. It's going to be here before we know it. So all in all, take it for what it is. Those are just my 2 cents. And that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing, and we will see you in the next video.